Welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Roger Hoover in the podcast studio here at the Advantage Center at Saban Field. Now joined by Alabama quarterback Austin Mack, who we saw this past week against Mercer. Austin, roll tide. That must have been a really fun Saturday.
It was very fun. Whole family in town. It was a great experience.
What can you tell us about the week of preparation leading up to the game? You mentioned the family was in town. Did you have a pretty good idea maybe you'd have a chance to get in that game?
Always, especially with the entire week of preparation, I'm always kind of just focused on preparing and really just building my skills. And I knew my whole family was going to be there, so obviously, like, having the opportunity to go in the game was exciting, especially having my brother there because he doesn't he's 4 years older than me, so he actually lives in Houston and he's a pilot, so schedules aren't really very set. So it was definitely good to have him there, and for me to get in the game, it was huge.
Yeah, we saw Alabama build up that first half lead. So Jalen Milroe a little bit in the second half. Then Ty Simpson, Dylan Lonergan, then your numbers called. Just take us through the emotion of walking onto that field for the first time in a game-like setting.
It was definitely crazy because even at Washington, I had never been in a game before. So having my first snaps being here was definitely a crazy experience. I really just did my best, kept calm, just ran the offense the best I could.
Did a great job. Led Alabama to a touchdown. What can you tell us about that touchdown pass to Rico Scott?
It's definitely one of our base plays. And Rico's a playmaker, and all the quarterbacks got to do is just give the ball to the playmaker.
And you certainly did too. And I mean, that was a tough throw too, and a tough catch that he made.
Yeah. Pretty much every day at practice, I'm throwing the ball to Rico, and I got 100% confidence in him being able to make those type of plays 10 out of 10 times.
What was the celebration like with your teammates, both on the sideline, on the field, everything after that?
It was kind of funny because in high school, I kind of had a tendency to do some random celebrations. But after I threw the touchdown, I kind of blacked out for a moment. I was like, no way that just happened. So I kind of looked to the sideline, seen everybody celebrating. I was like, oh my goodness, I just threw a touchdown. So now I ran over, celebrated with the team, celebrated with Rico and them. So it was good.
Yeah, we were really happy to see you get some playing time along with Dylan and Ty, of course. And then Cade Carruth takes the final snaps as well. How big was that?
That was really cool, especially because Cade, not a lot of people see it, but Cade does a lot for the program. Like practice every day, comes to workouts on time. He's definitely like the glue guy in the QB room. So it was definitely great to see him get some snaps.
How much do you guys enjoy playing together on all the quarterbacks?
We love it, especially day in, day out. I mean, the QBs are around each other all day, every day, whether it's meetings, practice, hanging around in the locker room. So it was definitely cool to see everybody get in the game and contribute.
What can you tell us about Jalen Milroe as a leader for you all?
He's definitely one of the biggest, if not the biggest leader on the team. He's always like for me especially, he's a guy I kind of look up to when it comes to that leader aspect because he's in early, out late, first person in, last person to leave, and he's definitely an extremely hard worker. Whether it comes to watching film all day, he's in the training room getting his body right, or just working on his craft. So it's definitely inspiring to see for me as a fellow quarterback and me being young to see that type of leader and how he leads a high caliber team such as Alabama.
And do you realize how lucky you are? Your first 2 years in college football as a young guy, you've gotten to be around Michael Penix Jr. at Washington, now Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, so I mean, I skipped my senior year in high school specifically for that reason because I had multiple conversations with the board talking about like when you come in early, like we're gonna have you sit back and watch Mike work, and that experience was incredible. I mean, Mike top 10 pick, great quarterback. It was definitely a great experience to see how he operates, and then to also see how Jalen Milroe operates because it's the two completely different people, but they're all same goal, and it was really cool to see.
And that's led you here to Alabama. Let's back up to where your journey began. First of all, tell us where you grew up.
So I grew up in Roseville, California, but then moved to Loomis, California, which is right outside the Sacramento area. But yeah, I've lived there my entire life. Yeah.
That's really cool. Were you always a football player? I mean, did you play some other sports growing up as well?
Yeah, so I started playing football when I was 6, I want to say, and then I played basketball every now and then, but as I kind of grew up, I realized football's my thing. So then really after my sophomore year in high school, I kind of stopped playing basketball. I really was just focusing on football, training in the offseason, all that stuff. But yeah, football has always been my thing.
Quarterback from the start?
Yeah, when I was 6, I played running back, but then they realized that I was 6 years old and I could throw the ball 40 yards, so they put me at quarterback.
How much have you enjoyed just the progressions you've been able to make throughout your career? What led to success in high school for you?
Honestly, it was me having because at my high school, Folsom, it's a very prolific high school for quarterbacks. So me having the ability to be with coaches who have coached great quarterbacks, and then just having a system and great coaches that have helped me along to become the player I am today. So that was definitely the main thing that helped me in high school. Yeah.
Who are some other Folsom quarterbacks?
Jake Browning, Caden Bennett, Ari Patu, yeah, a lot of guys I look up to very dearly. Yeah.
Well, you had some good success there, and then you had that decision whether or not to come back, play your senior year, or reclassify and go to Washington early. What were some of the other factors you were thinking about when making that call?
Definitely just my future. Whether it was playing a year in high school or going and learning from Mike and developing, honing my skills, really just trying to be the best player I can be and learn the game. Because as a lot of people know, the difference between high school ball and college ball is light years. So just being able to see those situations, like there were plenty of situations last year where whether it was the Oregon game where Mike had to go down and score the game-winning drive, or being in the Sugar Bowl with the last couple seconds, and then even the national championship, being on that big of a stage, it was really good for me to see and experience those environments. So eventually, when I get there, it's going to be nothing new.
What do you remember about Coach DeBoer recruiting you and when you first met him?
I met him back in March of my sophomore year, I want to believe. But ever since I met him, he's always been like family. Like me and DeBoer have a really great relationship. Like it goes way back, and he's really the one coach that stuck out to me a lot. Like especially in the recruiting process, because he's super family orientated. So he's really close with my parents, really close with everyone in my family. So like especially that was like the biggest thing for me, and he really made Washington feel like home, and like that was one of the biggest reasons I chose Washington was for Coach DeBoer. So yeah.
And then take us back to that week. Of course, you play Michigan on a Monday night for the national championship game. And then when did you first hear about Coach Saban retiring? And when you first saw that news, did you think about Coach DeBoer would be a candidate here?
Obviously, I knew as soon as Saban retired, it was like, all right, Coach DeBoer is one of the best coaches in the nation. Like he had just won multiple Coach of the Year awards. So I was like, it obviously could have been a possibility, but I was just kind of taking it day by day. And I didn't want to assume anything, didn't want to, but eventually when DeBoer announced, me and him had a conversation. It was like, all right, like it was up to me. It's like I could either do whatever I want to do, or I could come along. And I was like, I chose to come to Washington for you, so I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna trust the process.
So did you make the decision to transfer to Alabama? Had you been able to come here yet on a visit or anything like that, or was it basically sight unseen?
No, because that was probably the way I like to explain it. It was the shortest long week of my life, because when DeBoer had announced he was going, I think on a Thursday, I was actually headed home because we had that break after the season ended. So after that happened, I got home, had multiple conversations with my family. And it was one of those things. It was like, all right, we're going. But I had never been to Alabama. I had never seen the campus, none of that. But it was like it is what it is. I'm going for DeBoer. Like I know Alabama is the greatest program of all time. So I was like, it's a win-win.
And then once you got here, what stood out to you about this place and the facilities you have, campus, academic resources, things like that?
I say really just the standard of everything. Whether it's in the training room, how serious people take treatment, and the weight room, like with Coach Ballou, seeing how like the standard is like so high. It was really cool to see, because I mean Alabama's been on the top for so long, and I see why.
What are some of the things you've worked on with Coach Ballou when it comes to your body and getting stronger?
Really for me it was just development, because I'm so tall but yet so young. It's really just developing my body, growing into it, so I could be the best player I could be.
Do you feel like the height gives you an advantage at quarterback?
Yeah, definitely. With quarterbacks, it's always like everybody's different. So like me being so tall, I have a skill set, and I play to that skill set, so it helps.
And then for you this year, obviously with Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, a lot of quarterback reps during practice. But what's your focus in practice? How much are you working with the scout team?
Honestly, I've been working with the scout team all year, and in my opinion, it's been the best thing I could have done all year, because over there on the scout, I'm taking reps all day versus the ones defense. So I'm going up against the guys like Damani, Malachi, D-Law, like TK, all of them. So I mean, it's the best thing that I could have done for myself, because I'm getting reps against the best defense in the nation right now. So me being able to make plays, with other guys, it's been a big thing for building my confidence and also just building my skills and just getting comfortable.
And I imagine just learning a lot of football as well, because when they ask you to do that, you're learning how to be
Yeah.
Carson Beck or Nico Iamaleava or Garrett
Yep.
Nussmeier.
Yeah. So it's definitely been cool because I've had to transform how I played like week in, week out. So it's definitely good for me to see how how to play in those ways, like whether it's like Nico or it's like Garrett Nussmeier or Carson Beck. I'm seeing different ways to like see the game. So it's been good.
We always hear about Alabama's really great depth, and I'm sure we got to see it in the Mercer game on the
Yeah.
field, like talked about with Rico Scott. But I mean,
Yeah.
that whole wide receiver room's so talented.
Yeah.
Tight ends are really talented
Yeah.
catching the football. You had to love seeing those guys get their time on the field.
No, yeah, it was definitely great to see everybody get in, whether it's from the ones to the walk-ons. Like one thing that was big for me was seeing all the walk-ons get in, because the walk-ons put in so much work day in and day out, and they don't get much recognition, but they putting in just as much work, if not more, than everybody else. So it was really cool to see that.
Well, a couple games left for the Crimson Tide this season. Then what's going to be your offseason focus trying to get ready for next year?
Really just focusing on my craft, really just trying to be the best player I can be, whether it's finding my weaknesses and trying to make them strengths or just building on my strengths. Like day in and day out, I'm like my biggest goal is to just get better as a player, because I haven't played that much football, but it doesn't matter. Like if I want to play here, I have to be at a certain level, and I know that. So this whole off season, I'm just going to be trying to be the best player I can be day in and day out.
And then for this football team, a couple games left in the regular season, then obviously, hopefully, a very long postseason ahead. Just what do you feel like Alabama's capable of this year?
In my opinion, Alabama's capable of whatever we make it. Like whether it's the national championship, it's really up to us. So like, I mean, I know this season, like we won a lot of games, we lost a couple, but it's really just been us beating us. So for us to go that length, it's really us versus us. Like if we want to win those games, it's on us.
Well, football is definitely your focus here, but what about in the classroom? What are you majoring in, and any idea of what you may want to do once, hopefully, a very long football career is over?
Right now, I'm majoring in business management, but I don't really have an exact idea of what I want to do with that after, but definitely something cool.
There we go. Well, hopefully a lot of touchdowns in between that.
Yes,
Austin, Mack, congratulations on making your Crimson Tide debut this past week against
much.
Mercer. Just thank you for joining us. Roll Tide.
Thank you. Roll Tide.